In the previous lecture, we saw the law of demand and law of supply, and how prices are determined in the market with the help of the forces of demand and supply. If you notice, according to the law of demand, if price of a particular commodity increases, the quantity demanded of that particular commodity decreases, and vice versa, keeping other things constant. So this gives this law gives a general behavior of how demand behaves with respect to change in price and various other demand for a particular commodity changes, let us say, with change in price and further various other aspects like other factors like income, etc., etc., that we have already discussed. But there is one problem here. The point is, the law says that if price increases, the quantity demanded decreases, and if price decreases, the quantity demanded decreases. But it does not tell you by how much. That means how much increase in price will lead to how much fall in quantity demanded. That is not clear yet. To clarify this, we need to understand the concept of elasticity of demand. With the help of this concept, we will be able to find out, let us say, if price changes by 10%, then how much quantity demand or price increases, let us say, by 10%, then the quantity demanded should naturally decrease, but by how much does the quantity demanded decreases? What is elasticity of demand? Elasticity of demand is the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a particular commodity to change in its price, consumers' income, and prices of related goods. Accordingly, there are primarily there are three concepts in elasticity of demand, or three types of elasticity of demand, you could say. One is price elasticity of demand, the other is income elasticity of demand, and the third one is cross elasticity of demand. So now we will look at first of all, what is price elasticity of demand. So out of the three types of elasticity of demand, we will today look at the first type, that is price elasticity of demand. Okay, price elasticity gives the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a particular commodity to change in price. So the formula for calculating the price elasticity of demand would be proportionate change in quantity demanded upon proportionate change in price, or if you do it by percentage method, here price elasticity EP is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded upon percentage change in price. So that is to say, when for example, let's take an example. When the percentage change in quantity demanded is 15%, in response to the change in price, which is 10%, okay, the elasticity, the price elasticity would come out to be 1.5. 15% upon 10%, that is 1.5. Now this number could be positive, negative, or 0. But by convention, we do not write elasticity of demand as a negative number. That's why this value will always be positive. So negative sign is neglected, even if it comes out to be negative. Okay. Now the price elasticity of demand for different goods will vary differently with change in price. There will be some goods that has responsive demand. That means for a slight change in price, there will be a lot of change in quantity demanded. Whereas there will be some goods like petrol, for example, even if the price changes greatly, the quantity demanded will not drop accordingly. So there will be a small change in quantity demanded with respect to change in price. So accordingly, there are further 5 types of price elasticity of demand. So we are considering elasticity of demand. In that we are considering 3 types of elasticity of demand, that is price elasticity, income elasticity and cross elasticity. And within price elasticity, there are further 5 cases or 5 types of price elasticity of demand. These are that depending on this value of elasticity, EP, price elasticity. So that these 5 types are perfectly elastic demand. This case happens when this value, price elasticity value, tends to infinity. Perfectly inelastic demand. This happens when this EP value is equal to 0. Relatively elastic demand. This happens when this EP value is greater than 1. EP value is nothing but price elasticity of demand. Okay, so this, when price elasticity of demand is greater than 1, the demand is relatively elastic. When the price elasticity of demand is less than 1, the demand is relatively inelastic. And when the price elasticity of demand value, EP value, is equal to 1, then the demand is unit elastic. These are the 5 cases, 5 types of price elasticity of demand. I will take one example for each and we will discuss each of these 5 types. In this lecture, we will discuss about these 5 different types of price elasticity of demand. As we have discussed in the earlier lecture, the price elasticity of demand is percentage change in quantity demanded upon percentage change in price. So that will give us the price elasticity of demand. But we have already discussed this, that different goods will have different responses to change in price. That is to say, the quantity demanded of different goods in the market will vary differently and its response to change in price basically will be different in each case. So depending upon this EP value, there will be 5 types of price elasticity of demand. We have discussed this, that these 5 types are perfectly elastic, perfectly inelastic, unit elastic, relatively elastic and relatively inelastic demand. Okay, so we will take a look at each case one by one. So I will explain to you each case one by one. Okay, so the first is I will discuss the 2 extreme cases in case of price elasticity of demand. These are perfectly elastic and perfectly inelastic demand. So when are we going to have perfectly elastic demand? Here in the figure you can see that the price is 50 and the quantity demanded is 100 units, and even when the price remains the same, the quantity demanded also remains the same. That is to say, in this case, how does this value comes out to be infinity? But what happens in this case is, even a small change in price, due to a small change in price, the demand, the quantity demanded will be infinite. In case of, let us say, if the price decreases by small amount, the quantity demanded will increase infinitely. Or if price increases even slightly, then the entire quantity demanded will vanish, or there will be no demand for that product, even if the price only changes a little bit. How is this possible? This generally happens for those goods which are in perfectly competitive markets, which are traded in perfectly competitive markets. So we know that in a perfectly competitive market, the demand curve is horizontal and the demand curve is perfectly elastic. So this is the case for perfectly elastic demand. So this is one extreme case of price elasticity of demand. The other one is perfectly inelastic. If after solving this EP value comes out to be 0, okay, then this case will be applicable. EP value being 0 means that the quantity demanded will not change. So basically the quantity demanded of a product will not change no matter what the price is. So here you can see the quantity demanded is 100. When the price is 50, the quantity demanded is 100. The price is 100, the quantity demanded is 100. The price may rise further, but the quantity demanded will remain same. That means in this case there is no response in quantity demanded to change in price. Okay, so whatever the change in price, the quantity demanded will not change. How is this possible? So this one example could be given. This is for example, let us say there is one patient, a diabetic patient, and needs to have insulin every week or regularly. So he will have to buy insulin to control his sugar level. He will not look at what is the price of that insulin or that medicine. He will just have a quantity demanded. Even if price doubles or price increases, he will have to take insulin or that particular medicine, okay, whatever might be the case. Let us say in case of diabetes, I am just saying that insulin, but whatever there could be other cases also. So for a diabetic patient, whatever might be the price of insulin, he will have to pay. He will pay that. So quantity demanded will not change even if price rises. Okay, so that is the case in case of perfectly inelastic demand. So the third type is unit elastic demand, where there is, for a particular change in price of a commodity, there is proportionate change in quantity demanded. So this case can be illustrated here. The for unit elastic demand, EP is equal to 1. So how come 1? So when you solve this percentage change in quantity demanded upon percentage change in price, if the answer comes out to be 1, then it is unit elastic demand. Here you can see the example. When the price is 100 rupees, the quantity demanded is 100. When the price decreases by half, the quantity demanded doubles. That means there is proportionate change in quantity demanded in response to price. The third case is, or the fourth case rather, is relatively elastic demand. This happens basically in the case of luxuries, let us say, or electronic goods, or consumer goods rather, you should say, but consumer goods which are, which could be considered a little bit as luxuries also. Okay, see here, the price is 100 and the quantity demanded is 100 also. When the price is halved, the quantity demanded triples, not doubles. Okay, unlike here in unit elastic it doubles, here it triples. Naturally, you can see it from here that the percentage change in quantity demanded is more in response to price. Okay, so this will be a positive number, so EP will be greater than 1. So if EP is greater than 1, then the demand is relatively elastic. This happens in the case of luxuries. And here you will see that the demand curve is much steeper, okay, as compared to that in unit elastic, or much flatter rather, not steeper. The demand curve is much flatter when you compare it with unit elastic. Okay, so that is the case with relatively elastic demand. The final type is relatively inelastic demand. This comes when in response to change in price, if the change in quantity demanded is less than proportionate, then the EP value will be less than 1. Okay, and in this case there will be relatively inelastic demand. Here you can see the example. When the price is 100, the quantity demanded is 100. When the price drops down to 50, the quantity demanded increases, but not by so much, like increases to 150. Unlike here where it increases to 300, or here where it increases to 200. So here there is an increase in price. So in response to there is increase in quantity demanded in response to fall in price, but it is less than proportionate. So when the price, in response to change in price, if the quantity demanded changes less than proportionately, you will have relatively inelastic demand. Examples: necessities, goods that are necessities. For example, common salt, or wheat, or petrol, or diesel. These are common necessities. Even if the price increases, let us say drastically, there will be less than proportionate decrease. Okay, and vice versa. So there will be less response, in a way, less proportionate response to change in price, because these are necessities. So basically these are the 5 types of price elasticity. Now we will look at the income elasticity of demand. The second type of elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand. This gives the relationship between the change in quantity demanded to change in income. That is, as the income of the population changes, what is the impact on quantity demanded of that particular commodity. So that we can find out by income elasticity of demand. That is, income elasticity of demand is the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded to change in income of the population or consumers' income. This can be given as EY, so it is denoted by, in many books you will find different notations. In some books it is written as EM, e to the base m, or EI or EY. So Y is generally the notation that is used for income, so I am writing here EY, that is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded upon percentage change in income. So that is, this income elasticity of demand is the ratio of percentage change in quantity demanded to percentage change in income, or you can say proportional change in quantity demanded to proportional change in income, consumer's income. Now it also has further 5 types. So just like we discussed price elasticity of demand and its 5 types, here we will discuss income elasticity of demand and its types. Here also we have 5 types: relatively income elasticity, income elastic demand, relatively income inelastic demand, that is to say relatively elastic, relatively inelastic, unit elastic, zero elastic, and negative income elastic. These are the 5 types. So what is this? So when you solve this equation, if the value of Ey it comes out to be greater than 1, then it is relatively elastic. Fine. When the value of Ey is less than 1, the good is relatively inelastic. When the value of Ey is equal to 1, the good is unit elastic. When the value of Ey is equal to 0, it is zero income elastic. And when the value of Ey is less than 0, it is negative income elastic. Okay, so here I have depicted these things in these curves. So this is a upward sloping demand curve. All of these are demand curves, and you will see that they are sloping upwards. This is because we are calculating income elasticity of demand. Okay, in the price elasticity, in that case, the demand curve was sloping downwards to the right. Here, here we have a demand curve which is sloping upwards. Here we have at a 45-degree in the quadrant at 45-degree line, Ey is equal to 1, that is unit elastic demand. Okay, so that is nothing but, so this case, I will take this third case first. Ey is equal to 1. When will Ey is equal to, when will be Ey is equal to 1? This equation, when we solve this equation, percentage change in quantity demanded upon percentage change in income, if the value comes out to be 1, then Ey will be, that is to say, it will be unit elastic. That means for a particular change in income, if there is proportionate change in quantity demanded, Ey will be equal to 1. And so this will be represented by this line, this demand curve. If we go to the first one, relatively income elastic, for a particular change in income, for a change in income rather, if the change in quantity demanded is more than proportionate, okay, then Ey will be greater than 1. It is represented by this line. You can see that this is much flatter than this curve. This curve is much flatter than this curve, right? Third, further, relatively income inelastic. So for change in income, if the response of the quantity demanded is less than proportionate, then Ey is less than 1. Okay, so this case. For a particular change in income, there is no change in quantity demanded at all. Then it is zero income elastic, so Ey is equal to 0. And if for a change in income, if the quantity, the response of quantity demanded is negative in a sense, then it is negative income elastic, where Ey is less than 0. How can it be negative? What do I mean by that? What I mean is, generally there is a positive correlation between income and quantity demanded. Generally, when income of the population increases, the quantity demanded increases. We have seen this in the case of law of demand. But there are some goods where when the income of the population increases, their consumption decreases. That is to say, the quantity demanded decreases. Okay, so such goods will have negative income elasticity. Okay, so these are the 5 types, and I have depicted it here. Fine. So this is about income elasticity. One more thing, you can classify the type of good from the kind of income elasticity that it has. What do I mean by this? I just told you that generally in normal cases, that is to say, generally, when income of the population increases, the quantity demanded increases. Therefore, you can clearly see that there is a positive correlation between these two variables. Okay, so there is a positive correlation between income and quantity demanded. If that is the case, that is, income elasticity is positive, then the good in question is said to be a normal good. Okay, so we can classify the goods like this. So the good in question is said as normal good. I just told you the example of negative income elasticity also. This law doesn't hold good, or even the law of demand, if you can recall, doesn't hold good in the case of given goods. So if, let us say, in this case, in the case of negative income elasticity, if income of the population increases, the quantity demanded of certain goods will decrease. The goods which are of inferior quality, their quantity demanded will decrease. So, if the quantity demanded of the good decreases and there is a negative income elasticity, then the good is said to be inferior. So, inferior goods, low quality goods, which people were buying when their income was less, they will stop buying that as their income increases. So as income increases, the quantity demanded of those inferior goods decreases, and that's why the income elasticity will be negative. Further case will be income elasticity is positive, but it is greater than 1. This case. Income elasticity is positive, but it is greater than 1. Okay, it is greater than 1. And you should say income elasticity is positive, that is to say, when income increases, the quantity demanded in the market will also increase, and not only that, the income elasticity of demand is greater than 1. This happens in the case of luxuries. This generally happens when income starts rising and more proportion of that income, with that income, what do people do with that income? They will buy goods that are kind of luxury. For example, expensive cars or diamonds or gold, let us say. So, in this case, so this happens in this case. So, if the income elasticity of demand is positive and it is greater than 1, the good in question is a luxury. Okay. If the income elasticity of demand is positive, okay, but the EY value, that is to say income elasticity of demand, this value is less than 1. It is positive but less than 1. How is it possible? It lies between 0 and 1. Then the good in question will be an essential commodity or a necessity. Okay. So what happens generally is when people have low income, a large chunk of their budget is consumed by these essentials. Okay, and they don't tend to buy luxurious goods. But as income increases rapidly, or substantially, you should say, then what happens is people share in their total consumption, the share of essential commodities decreases and the share of luxury goods increases as their standard of living increases. Okay, so that is the case that I am trying to explain here. The income elasticity of demand is positive but less than 1. So the good in question will be an essential commodity or necessities basically. So that is the case. Further, when income elasticity of demand is 0, here we have one case where 0 income elasticity of demand. Here EY is, you can see this vertical line, demand curve sloping vertically upwards. EY is equal to 0. This is the case where the income elasticity of demand is equal to 0. This happens in the case of certain goods such goods are called as neutral. Okay, here you can see this vertical line, vertical demand curve, that suggests that there is no change in quantity demanded as the income of the population increases. So the two are not related. How is it possible? That is to say, even if income increases, the quantity demanded does not increase substantially. Okay, what are the kind of goods? Let us say, for example, salt, common salt. Okay, if a poor man will consume the same amount of common salt which a rich man will use, basically, or more or less, but the increase will not be substantial. Okay, so that is basically zero income elasticity of demand. So this is about this is the discussion I am doing here. I have done here about income elasticity of demand. In the next lecture, we will discuss about cross elasticity. Now we will discuss about the third type of elasticity of demand, that is cross elasticity of demand. This concept is basically important to understand cross elasticity, because there are many goods in the market that are interrelated to each other. That is to say, related to each other. They are either substitute goods or complement goods, and change in price of one good may lead to change in price of, or change in the quantity demanded of another good. Okay, so the cross elasticity of demand gives us the degree of responsiveness of the quantity demanded of one good if the price of other good, the other good could be price of a related good, that related good could be substitute or complement. If price of that related good changes, then the degree of responsiveness of the one good, okay, the cross elasticity of demand gives us the degree of responsiveness of a particular good to change in price of its substitute or complement, or price of related goods rather. Okay, so this can be represented by the formula EC. I am denoting notation for cross elasticity of demand. Okay, is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded of good X upon percentage change in quantity demanded of good Y, or proportional change in quantity demanded of good X upon percentage change in price of good Y. Sorry, I just said quantity demanded here, percentage change in price of good Y. Okay, so here what we are measuring, this looks similar to the price elasticity equation, but there is one major change. Here we have, so I will tell you the difference. In case of price elasticity, we were considering percentage change in quantity demanded of good X upon percentage change in price of good X only. Here we are considering percentage change in price of good Y. Okay, so let us, I will just simplify this for you. Let us say good X is tea and good Y is coffee. Now we know that coffee is a substitute good for tea. Okay, so we also know that if prices of tea increases, the quantity demanded of coffee will also increase. Okay, so here, sorry, what we will consider is good X to be coffee and good Y to be tea. Okay, so if prices of tea increases, the quantity demanded of coffee will also change. But what will be its response? This will be measured by this ratio, EC. Okay, and this is cross elasticity of demand. Okay, so as a simple example, if X here, I will just write it. For example, if Y is tea and X is coffee. Okay, and if price of tea increases, what will be its impact on price of or quantity demanded of coffee? Okay, if price of tea increases, what will be its impact on the quantity demanded of coffee? This we can find out with this formula, and this is called as cross elasticity of demand. So basically cross elasticity of demand is nothing but, in this case, the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of coffee to the change in price in tea, which is a substitute good. Same could be said with the complements also. But there is one difference. In case of substitute, when this EC value, if this EC value, this value basically, when we calculate this, if it comes out to be positive, the good is said to be a substitute. Okay, if this value comes out to be negative, okay, then the good in question is a complement. Another point to be noted very carefully, this second condition does not always hold good. What I am saying, if the cross elasticity of demand is positive, the good is substitute good always. Okay, so for a substitute good, the cross elasticity of demand will be positive, always positive. But in case of a complement, the cross elasticity of demand will be negative. Yes, always negative. But if cross elasticity of demand is negative, that does not mean that the good in question is always a complement. The negative cross elasticity can also be due to strong income effect or powerful income effect. So when the good is complement, the cross elasticity of demand is negative, that's true, but that doesn't mean that that is always the case. Negative negative cross elasticity of demand can also be found if there is a strong income effect. So this has to be kept in mind. In this lecture, we will look at measurement of elasticity of demand, or various methods by which we can measure the elasticity of demand. There are many methods like point method, ratio method, percentage method, through which we can find out the elasticity of demand. Total outlay method being one. We will look at all these methods one by one. So in today's lecture, we will look at the first method. It is called ratio method or percentage method. Okay, so in the ratio method or percentage method, we solve the problems using this formula here. So first of all, we know how to calculate the price elasticity of demand. For example, price elasticity of demand is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded upon percentage change in price. So if you just write it down in formula, it is delta Q upon Q. Delta Q is change in quantity demanded upon Q. Q is original quantity demanded, divided by, so the first part is represented like this, percentage change. So how we will do delta Q upon Q divided by delta P upon P. What is delta P? Change in price. And what is P? That is original price. Now if you just rearrange this and remove this sign of division by multiplication, okay, how we can do that? We'll just take the recipe. So here we can write like delta Q upon Q multiplied by P upon delta P. Okay, so this formula gets changed here. Now this again we can rearrange this term, delta Q upon Q multiplied by P upon delta P. We can rearrange this as delta Q upon delta P multiplied by P upon Q. Okay, so delta Q upon delta P multiplied by P upon Q. So we can use any of these two formulas in order to find out the price elasticity of demand. I will take one example and so it will become clear to you how to find the price elasticity of demand using percentage method. Here there is one example. P1 is 20, P2 is 21, Q1 is 100 and Q2 is 96. Okay, that means the original price was 21 and the price of the commodity increased by rupees 1. Okay, so to 21. As a result of increase in price, the quantity demanded, which was originally 100 units, decreased to Q2, that is 96 units. Now we need to find out the elasticity of demand here, price elasticity. That is, with increase, 1 rupee increase in the price of a commodity, if the quantity demanded has decreased by 4 units, what is the price elasticity of demand? Okay, how to find this? Again, we'll go to this formula. PE is equal to Q2 minus Q1 upon Q1 divided by P2 minus P1 upon P1. It is the same formula, delta Q upon Q divided by delta P upon P. Okay, or you can use the second term here, like delta Q upon Q multiplied by P upon delta P. Now just substitute values given in this problem in this equation. What is delta Q? Q2 minus Q1. What is delta Q? Change in quantity demanded. How to find it? Q2 minus Q1. Final quantity divided by original, final quantity minus original quantity. So Q2 here is 96, Q1 here is 100, so 96 minus 100 divided by original quantity Q1, that is 100. Okay, multiplied by P, original price 20, that is P1, okay, divided by delta P. Okay, delta P. So what is delta P? How will you find delta P? P2 minus P1. So P2 minus P1 here is 22 minus 20. 21 minus 20. So that is P2. That is delta P rather. Okay. So that is how you will find out delta P. So therefore, if you solve this, it comes out to be 96 minus 100 minus 4 divided by 100 multiplied by 20 divided by 21 minus 20, that is 1. That comes out to be minus 0.8. Now even if it is minus 0.8, what we can do is you can neglect this negative sign because we are calculating elasticity of demand. So therefore you can neglect this sign. So this is 0.8. So the elasticity, price elasticity of demand here is 0.8. So this is one method, percentage method, to find out the price elasticity of demand. Now we will consider the midpoint method of calculating the price elasticity of demand. Basically, it is part of percentage method only, but you will I will tell you what is this midpoint method. So here you can see the formula. That means we have to find, see here you have to find the answers by percentage method only, okay, but as compared to the earlier method we are going to use midpoints, midpoint method in a way. So here the formula, price elasticity is delta Q upon Q1 plus Q2 upon 2 divided by delta P upon P1 plus P2 upon 2. Okay, how to find the midpoint? So we are going to find the midpoint of the quantity demanded and price. So how will we find out Q1 plus Q2 upon 2 in the case of quantity demanded, and P1 plus P2 upon 2 in the case of price? Fine. Now if you just rearrange these terms, delta Q upon Q1 plus Q2 upon 2 multiplied by P1 plus P2 upon 2 divided by P. So that is the formula. A more easier way to do it is, I will just illustrate it with an example. Here we have P1 as 90, P2 as 110, Q1 as 240 and Q2 is 160. That means the original price of a commodity was 90 rupees and the price increased to rupees 110. Okay. In response to this increase in price, the quantity demanded decreased from 240 units to 160 units. Okay. Now we have to find out the degree of responsiveness of this quantity demanded to change in price. Okay. That is nothing but price elasticity of demand. Okay. So what is the formula? Price elasticity is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded upon percentage change in price. That is how we calculate the price elasticity of demand. Okay. Now this time we will do it with a midpoint formula or midpoint method. How we can do this? See, first of all, we will consider the numerator, percentage change in quantity demanded. So percentage change in quantity demanded. How we can find it out? How we can find out percentage change in quantity demanded? Delta Q upon Q1 plus Q2 upon 2. Here in the formula you can see this. Delta Q, this first term. Okay. Delta Q upon Q1 plus Q2 upon 2. Okay. Rather than finding out everything in one go, what we will do is, you will find out just one term only. Okay. So delta Q upon Q1 plus Q2 upon 2 multiplied by 100. Okay. Why multiplied by 100? Because we want to find out the percentage change in the quantity demanded. Only this much part will give us the total change in quantity demanded, but it will not give us it in percentage terms. That's why we are multiplying it by 100. Now just put the values in this formula. What is delta Q? Q2 minus Q1. So Q2 is 160, Q1 is 240. So 160 minus 240, that is minus 80. Okay. Divided by Q1 plus Q2 upon 2. So Q1 plus Q2. So add these two. Q1 plus Q2. 240 plus 160. That is equal to 400 divided by 2. So 400 divided by 2, 200. Okay. So in all, minus 80 divided by 200 multiplied by 100. Okay. So the answer comes out to be minus 40%. Okay. Or the first part. So percentage change in quantity demanded is minus 40%. Now we will look at the denominator. Percentage change in percentage change in price. Okay. So how to calculate the percentage change in price? Delta P upon P1 plus P2 upon 2 multiplied by 100. Okay. So what is delta P? Delta P is change in price, P2 minus P1, 110 minus 90. 110 minus 90, that is 20. Okay. Okay. So P1 plus P2 upon 2. So what is P1 plus P2? 90 plus 110, that is 200 upon 2, that is 100. So that is, this is the term. So 20 upon, in all, if you see, 20 upon 100 multiplied by 100. So if you solve this, it comes out to be 20%. Okay. Now we will put both these terms into this formula. So both these answers basically. Okay. What is percentage change in quantity demanded? Minus 40%. And what is percentage change in price? 20%. Okay. We have found it out. Now we will put it in to the formula of price elasticity of demand. So PE is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded. What is it? Minus 40%. Okay. Divided by percentage change in price. What is it? 20%. So minus 40% upon 20%. So the answer comes out to be minus 2 Okay, price elasticity is -2, but I have not written -2 because the convention is we have to ignore the minus sign. So the price elasticity of demand is 2 in this case. Therefore, the demand is relatively elastic in nature. So this is how we have to find out the price elasticity of demand by midpoint method. Now we will look at the second method by which we can find out the elasticity of demand. The other method is total outlay method or total expenditure method. Marshall actually gave this method very simplified in a really simplified format. Okay, so this is called total outlay or total expenditure method. Here we are concerned in this method, we are concerned with how the total revenue of the company or of the producer changes, let us say of a seller basically, changes with change in price. Okay, so as here we are going to calculate as price changes how total revenue changes. So in order to calculate that, first of all we should know that what is total revenue. Total revenue is nothing but price multiplied by total quantity sold, okay, by the seller or purchased by the buyer. Okay, so price multiplied by total quantity sold. Keep in mind, this is not the total quantity that is produced by the buyer, that is produced by the producer or the manufacturer. This is the quantity that he is able to sell in the market at the given price. So total revenue is price into total quantity sold. Okay, so that is total revenue. Now in this method, according to Marshall, we can find out the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded basically to price by just calculating the total revenue. That is to say, the elasticity of demand by calculating the changes in the total revenue with respect to the corresponding changes in price. Okay, how do we do that? First of all, let us take one example. Okay, here I have given one example here. Okay, three cases, we will consider three cases, how it is related to elasticity of demand. Here in the first case, price is rupees 4 initial price and final price is rupees 1. So the price of a product dropped from rupees 4 to rupees 1. In response to that, the quantity changed from 5 to 20. That is, when the price was 4, the quantity demanded in the market was 5 units, and when the price dropped, the quantity demanded increased to 20 units. Okay, in this method, what we are first going to calculate is total revenue. So total revenue is nothing but price into quantity. Okay, here we are going to do P1 into Q1. So total revenue is 5 into 4, that is 20. Okay, P2 into Q2, the total revenue is 1 into 20, that is 20. So total revenue is 20. Now how to find the elasticity of demand? We have found out the total revenue. Okay, P1 Q1, 4 into 5, that is 20. Okay, or P2 Q2, let us say 1 into 20, that is also 20. So that is total revenue. Price into quantity gives you total revenue. How will you find elasticity? For finding the elasticity, the formula is P2 into Q2 upon P1 into Q1. I will tell you again, P2 into Q2 divided by P1 into Q1. That is nothing but total final revenue divided upon initial revenue. Okay, so P2 into Q2 divided by P1 into Q1. So what is P2 into Q2 here? 20. What is P1 upon Q1 here? Again 20. Fine. So that is 20 upon 20. 20 upon 20 is 1. So the price elasticity of demand here is, price elasticity is 1. Okay. That means the demand is unit elastic. Okay. So that is the first case, case number 1. Okay. Notice here that even if the price did fall, the total revenue remained constant. This is because as price decreased, the quantity demanded increased in the same proportion, and that's why the total revenue remained constant. Okay. Now let us take another example. Here also initial price is P1, that is 4 rupees. Final price is P2, that is 1 rupee. Okay, so the price dropped from 4 to 1. Okay, 4 rupees to 1 rupees. In response to that, the change in quantity demanded was, when P1 was 4, the quantity demanded was 4 units. When the price fell, with the fall in price, the quantity demanded increased to increase to 24 units. Okay. Now what we will do in this method? First we will find out the total revenue. So the initial total revenue will be P1 Q1. So that is 16. 4 into 4, that is 16. And when the changes happen, that is price decreases, and in response to that the quantity increases, the total revenue is P2 Q2. So that is 24. Now again, what is the formula? P2 Q2 upon P1 Q1, or total revenue 2 upon total revenue 1. Okay, so that is nothing but 24 upon 16. If you do this calculation, the elasticity of demand, the EP value comes out to be 1.5. This is greater than 1. You can clearly see that. So EP value is greater than 1. That means the demand is elastic. Okay, or relatively elastic. Why did this happen? This is because as price fell, with the fall in price, that is from P1 to P2, that is from rupees 4 to rupees 1, the quantity demanded increased more than proportionately. Okay, and because of that the EP value is greater than 1. So this is the case for relatively elastic demand. Let us take another case. Again, here also in this example, the price is P1, that is 4, and price drops from 4 to rupees 1. So P2 is 1. In response to that, the change in quantity is 6 and 16. That is, when the price was 4, the quantity demanded was 6. With the fall in price to rupees 1, the quantity demanded became 16. So quantity demanded did increase. Okay, but here is the catch. Now if you calculate the total revenue, you will find out that P1 into Q1 is 24. That is total revenue 1, and P2 into Q2 is 16, that is total revenue 2, so that is 16. So again with our formula, we will do P2 into Q2 upon P1 upon Q1, that is nothing but 16 upon 24. Okay, the 16 upon 24, it comes out to be 0.66. So although the quantity demanded did increase with the fall in price, the increase was less than proportionate, and since the increase in quantity demanded in response to change in price or in response to fall in price was less than proportionate, the EP value, you can see it here as 0.66. That means EP is less than 1. So this is the case where the elasticity of demand is relatively inelastic. Fine. So this is how you have to find out the elasticity of demand by calculating the total outlay or total expenditure. How to do that? By first calculating the total revenue and applying this formula. Another point here which you should note is when the price of a product increases or falls, in case where the price of the product increases or price of the product falls and the total revenue remains constant, this is the case where the demand is unit elastic, because EP value will always come as 1. So that is, this is the case when the demand is unit elastic. Here, if you see, with increase in price, if with increase in price the total revenue also increases, or with fall in price the total revenue also falls. This will be the case for relatively elastic demand. Okay, because the EP value will always be greater than 1. Further, with rise in price the total revenue falls, or with fall in price the total revenue rises. This is the case for relatively inelastic demand, because the EP value will always be less than 1. Okay, so this is how you have to find out the elasticity of demand by using total outlay method. Now we will look at the third method of measuring the elasticity of demand, that is point method. This method was also given by Alfred Marshall. This is very simple. Let us say there is a demand curve, linear demand curve. I will just first tell you what is the methodology and how to find the elasticity of demand by this method. Now in this point method, why it is called as a point method or a geometric method is that in this method we can find out the elasticity of demand at a particular point. Okay, unlike the other methods which we have studied earlier, I told you that when I showed you the examples, we used to do like price 1, initial price, final price. Okay, so change in price P1, P2. In response to that, the quantity would change from Q1 to Q2. So we used to have 4 values. But what if we have only one value with us, and from that, that is to say one price point, and from that point you have to find out the elasticity of demand. Okay, so that is possible by this method. How? See, if we so this is a demand curve. The first thing that you have to do is extend this linear demand curve onto the 2 axis. Okay, so when we extend this demand curve meets the y-axis where we measure quantity demanded at point B, and it meets the x-axis, okay, at point B where we measure quantity demanded, and it meets the y-axis at point A, okay, where we calculate the price. Okay, now the formula is very simple. Let us say the point where we want to find out the elasticity is this point, point C. Okay, the formula for that is EP, okay, that is elasticity, is equal to lower segment divided by upper segment. Okay, so lower segment divided by upper segment. So here we will see that the elasticity will be calculated like here, BC upon AC. Okay, now you will say, okay, this is the point, but what if I want to find out the elasticity at this point, P1? So then the formula will be P1B upon P1A, that is to say this will become the lower segment and this will become the upper segment. Okay, so in that case this will be the lower segment and the other one will be the upper segment. Okay, so in this case, but let us say if you want to find out the elasticity at point P2, then this will be the lower segment. Okay, I'll write it here, just a minute. So this will be the lower segment P1B, and this will be the upper segment P2A, right? So the formula is very simple, lower segment upon upper segment. Now, so this is how we will calculate the elasticities. You may notice here that I have written certain values of elasticity in this figure. Okay, so here I have written at point A elasticity is infinity, at point C elasticity is 1, at point B elasticity is 0, and here at point P1 elasticity is greater than 1, at point P2 elasticity is less than 1. So what is this and how do we find it out? If we just put these values, lower segment upon upper segment, these values, you will get these sort of elasticities. Okay, why this will happen? See, this is our formula of calculating price elasticity. EP is equal to delta Q upon delta P, that is change in quantity upon change in price multiplied by price into quantity. This is how we find out price elasticity, right? So if you carefully look at this formula, this section delta Q upon delta P represents the slope of the line, slope of this linear curve. Okay, linear demand curve. And this P upon Q represents the price quantity ratio. P upon Q represents the price quantity ratio. Now, in case of a linear demand curve, the slope remains constant. If here you can see at whichever point here, at point A, point P1, point C, point P2, point. So on every point the slope is constant. So this delta Q upon delta P, this ratio is constant, right? Further, at point A, as I already told you, E is equal to infinity, and at point B, E is equal to 0. Okay, but why infinity? How did we arrive at these elasticities? Okay, so I will answer that. See, at point A, the ratio P upon Q is infinity, and at point B, the ratio P upon Q is 0. Why? Because at point A, the quantity demanded is 0. So when you put price P here and the quantity demanded is 0, if you have 0 value in the denominator, the answer will come as infinity. Okay, look at the other extreme. At point B, so quantity demanded is there is maximum at a particular point price, but price, let us say, the quantity demanded will have certain value, but price is 0. So if you put in this equation price as 0, 0 upon anything will be 0, right? So this is why at point A the elasticity will be infinity, and at point B elasticity will be 0. As we move downwards on this demand curve, the ratio P upon Q will fall. That is to say, the value of price will decrease, and so the P will decrease and Q will increase. Okay, so therefore the elasticity will fall. So as we move downwards, the elasticity values will fall from infinity to 1 to 0. Okay, at a midpoint, let us say here C is the midpoint, the elasticity will always be equal to 1, because the value of lower segment upon upper segment will come as 1. Okay, at this point, let us say P1, which is between A and C, okay, the lower segment is greater than upper segment, so the elasticity will be value will be greater than 1. That is to say, the demand will be relatively elastic. If the point lies between C and B, for example point P2, the elasticity will be less than 1. Okay, that means this is simply because the lower segment is smaller than the upper segment. Upper segment is bigger, the value here will be more, and the lower segment will be, the value will be less. So therefore the elasticity of demand will be relatively inelastic. Okay, that's why at point P1 E will be greater than 1, and at point P2 E will be less than 1. So now I have explained at point A, elasticity will be infinity. At point P1 elasticity will be greater than 1. At point C elasticity will be equal to 1. At point P2, which is the midpoint C, at point P2, which lies between C and B, elasticity will be less than 1, and at point B elasticity will be 0. Okay, so we will take one example to make these things little bit clearer to you. Okay, see, let's take this example. Here AB is equal to 10 centimeters. AB is equal to 10 centimeters. Okay, and so therefore P1B is 6 centimeters. P1B is 6 centimeters. Similarly, P2A is also 6 centimeters. P2A is 6 centimeters. Further, P1A, this segment is 4 centimeters, and P2B, this segment is also 4 centimeters. So these are the values. Okay. Now we will find out the elasticities. Given this data, given this problem, if you are asked to find out the point elasticities at different points. Okay, point elasticities at different points. Just let me write it here. Point method. Yeah. So how we will find it out? Simple. EP is equal to lower segment upon upper segment. So by point method, let us say if we want to find the elasticity at point C, which is the midpoint. Okay, at point C. So what you will do, what is the formula? At point lower segment upon upper segment. So that is nothing but BC upon AC. Okay, so BC upon AC is 5 centimeter upon 5 centimeter, that is equal to 1. Right? So because C is the midpoint, so value of BC is 5, value of AC is 5, so 5 upon 5 is 1. So that is elasticity is 1 at midpoint. The other example, let us say, let us find the elasticity point by point method at this point P1. Okay, only one point is given P1, and you are supposed to find out the point elasticity. Now again P1, what is the formula? Lower segment upon upper segment. So P1B upon P2A. Sorry, P1B upon P1A. Okay, here you can see this P1B upon P1A. So that is, what is P1B? 6 centimeters. What is P2? So this part, this is 6 centimeters. And what is P1A? 4 centimeters. 6 upon 4, that is 1.5. Here the lower segment, simply the value is 1.5 greater than 1, simply because the lower segment is, the value is more as compared to the upper segment. Okay, so EP is 1.5, so EP is greater than 1. Let us take another point, P2, you have to find out, so therefore elasticity is greater than 1 here. Okay, let us take another point, P2. Here the elasticity is less than 1. Okay, but how is it that it is relatively inelastic? See, if so at point P2, how will you find elasticity? Lower segment upon upper segment, P2B upon P2A. Okay, so P2B upon P2A. What is the value of P2B? 4 centimeters. And what is the value of P2A? 6 centimeters. So that is 4 upon 6, that comes out to be 0.66. The value is less than 1. So the elasticity of demand here in this case is relatively inelastic. So here we have three cases where at midpoint elasticity is unit elastic, where at a point between A and C, for the point which lies in the upper segment above C, above the midpoint, you have elasticity as greater than 1, so that is relatively elastic, and the point which lies below the midpoint, that is point P2, the elasticity is less than 1. That is to say the elasticity of demand is relatively inelastic. So this is how we find out the elasticity of demand by point method. Now we will look at the fourth method of determining the elasticity, that is arc method. In the previous method we discussed about, in the point method, we discussed about how to find out elasticity of demand at a particular point. But what if you have to find the elasticity of demand in a particular range on the demand curve, on the given range? For example, here I have drawn a demand curve, and in the case of point elasticity, you are supposed to find out the elasticity at point P or at point B. But what if you have to find out the elasticity of demand over this range from A to B? Okay, for that we have to calculate the elasticity by using the arc method. Now the arc method, the formula is like this: E arc is equal to delta Q upon delta P multiplied by P1 plus P2 divided by Q1 plus Q2. So this is the formula. Delta Q is change in quantity demanded, Q2 minus Q1. Delta P is change in price. So as price change, the quantity demanded change. So change in price, P2 minus P1. P1 plus P2 this is something that we did during the midpoint method to find out the midpoint. It is the same thing, but here we have to do P1 plus P2. There in the midpoint formula we had to do P1 plus P2 upon 2 and Q1 plus Q2 upon 2. We will not do this here. We will not divide it by 2. So, and that is the difference. We will just add P1 and P2 and Q1 and Q2. Okay, so that is the difference. So that's why it is different from that method. So in the arc method, delta Q upon delta P multiplied by P1 plus P2 upon Q1 plus Q2. Okay, and we use this method in order to find out the elasticity of demand over a particular range. Okay, let us say from A to B. Now let us take one example which will make it clear to you how to find this elasticity by using arc method. Here it is given original price, which is 10, and the new price is 12. That is, the price has increased from 10 to 12. In the response to that, the original quantity was 100 units, and in response to the increase in price, the quantity demanded decreased from 100 units to 90 units. Okay, so that is the problem, and we have to find out the elasticity of demand. Okay, by arc method, let us say. So how will we do this? What is the formula? Delta Q upon delta P multiplied by P1 plus P2 upon Q1 plus Q2. Okay, delta Q is nothing but Q2 minus Q1, delta P is nothing but P2 minus P1, right? So substituting the values, what is Q2? 90 minus Q1, that is 100. What is P2? 12. What is P1? 10. So 12 minus 10. So this comes out to be minus 10, that is 90 minus 100 is minus 10 divided by 12 minus 10. So that is 2. The other terms, P1 here multiplied by P1 plus P2. What is P1 plus P2? 10 plus 12. So that is 10 plus 12, that is 22. And Q1 plus Q2. So what is Q1 plus Q2? Q1 plus Q2 is 100 plus 90. So that is 190. So in all, the equation is like this, minus 10 upon 2 multiplied by, so it comes out to be like this, minus 10 upon 2 multiplied by 22 upon 190. If you solve this, the answer will come out to be minus 0.57. Okay, minus 0.57. You can remove this minus sign, as we have to neglect it we neglect the negative sign while finding out the elasticities. So it will be, elasticity will be 0.57. So this is how we find out elasticity of demand by arc method. Fine, where we have to find out the elasticity of demand over a range of values, or over a range of points on a demand curve. So that's it for this lecture.